It's my favorite time of the year because there's only one day every year that I get to talk for unnecessarily long about my favorite albums. It's my annual top 10 albums of the year video day. So actually, I had such a hard time this year because there were so many good albums released in 2018. So that's why I have an honorable mentions list that's longer than my actual top 10 list. So for honorable mentions, I just want to say, like, all these albums are like either ones that I just listened to once and I'm like, that's really good, I'm gonna add it on the list, or they're like ones that were majorly a soundtrack for the year, but I just had to put something else above it, which knocked it off the list. So like, some of these were actually some of my favorites, but just not quite top 10 material. But honorable mentions, let's go. Enough of me ranting. Malibu Nights by Lainey, Camila by Camila Cabello, The Fifth by Matthew V, Less Religion, More Sex by Cherry Pools, 1981 extended play by I Don't Know How But They Found Me, The Great Depression by As It Is, Love and Loathing by With Confidence, Bambi by Hippocampus, Speak Your Mind by Anne Marie, The Hype Is Dead by Vespertine, Glory Sound Prep by John Bellion, Sweetener by Ariana Grande, Panic Vertigo by The Rex, Origins by Imagine Dragons, Living Proof by State Champs, Colder by Nina Nesbitt, See You in the Future by Robert DeLong, Sad Girls by Milk, A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships by the 1975, 21st Century Liability by Youngblood, Rally Cry by Arkells, When My Heart Felt Volcanic by the Aces, Beautiful People Will Ruin Your Life by the Wombats, Love Is Dead by Churches, and Shawn Mendes' self-titled album. Sorry, all of those did not make it into my top 10, but they were still ones that I really thoroughly enjoyed this year. Yeah, so let's get into this list. Number 10 is actually one that I changed a few times. As I already told you, like, I had a really difficult time narrowing everything down this year, and I know I said that last year, but it was even harder this year. So in number 10, I've got The Pains of Growing by Alessia Cara. Now, Alessia is pretty mainstream at this point. I've listened to her since she wasn't all that mainstream, and I saw her open for Mariana's Trench last year. And I just really loved her. She's so young too, and like, I just think that it's like amazing, and she has like a really good message to share, and she's Canadian, so like, I love Canadian artists. It's just, that's part of who I am. I listened to the album the day it came out and I was really impressed. I loved her debut album, but I feel like she's matured a lot since then until now. And now's this one sort of like tackles more heavy and internal conflicts and topics. That one actually came out on the same day as 1975's new album, and I had such a battle with myself, like trying to decide which one to listen to first. I ended up listening to this one first, because I really liked the singles. Number 9, this one may be a little controversial, because either people loved this album or they hated this album, but I loved it. I don't think it's this band's best work, but it's still really good. I like their older stuff better, but they also have gone through a lot of years as a band, and a lot of albums, and a lot of changes. And I really think we need to acknowledge like how well they made the transition into like a garage rock band, into like modern super popular pop punk, into like pop rock, into like pop now. Because like they're somewhat mainstream now. And I just think that transition is like really difficult to make and still keep your fans along the way. And I think this band has tackled that really well, and I've been with them for a long time, so I've seen a lot of those changes firsthand, and I just really think they deserve this spot. So number 9 is Mania by Fall Out Boy. I'm always amazed by their stage presence and just the fact that they can still fill arenas after being around since like 2000 or something. Like, that's just really impressive, and they're still bigger than ever. Like, they haven't shrunk. Some people don't like the album, a lot of people do, and they're a great band all around. I really liked some of the slower ones on this album, like Bishop's Knife Trick was one of my favorites, and I like Hold Me Tight or Don't, it's so catchy. And I really actually like Sunshine Riptide a lot because it's just so different from anything they've ever done before. And this album definitely experimented with some things I never really thought I'd see them doing. but they did it really well, and I just really loved this album, so I think that deserves my number 9 spot. Okay, number 8 is another pop diva album per se. You're gonna know who it is like as soon as I start talking about him, so why don't I just say it now. Number 8 is Bloom by Troye Sivan. I've been following him since his YouTube days. It's just sort of weird to me that he's like mainstream now, because I still picture him as like that little boy who's like doing the YouTube videos and like just starting out with his music. And like Bloom was like so big, and that was just so weird for me to think about. As much as I love Blue Neighborhood, I honestly like Bloom more. It's just a lot more like progressive, sort of. Like I can tell he's grown. Just like I said with Alessia, like he was really young when he made his first album. So you can tell that his voice is matured, and you can tell that just his music topic is matured. If you also get the Target version, which I had to go to the States to get it because like I'm Canadian. I've already said that like twice in this video, but like just in case y'all forgot, I'm Canadian. And yeah, the Target version has a couple extra singles which like aren't on Spotify or anything. They're probably here somewhere on YouTube. All around, it's a really great album. It's a great mixture between like super upbeat mainstream songs and like sort of the slower ones like What a Heavenly Way to Die and Postcard. Honestly, just the fact that he announced the album in a concert with Taylor Swift is like so on brand for me because I love Taylor. Number 7 is Finding It Hard to Smile by Lovely the Band. Everyone knows Broken. Like if you don't, what are you doing? Which honestly, it's so weird to say that. Like, it's so weird to say that everybody knows Broken. Because, like, I just picture Lovely the Band as this small indie band. Because that's what they were when I first, like, heard about them. And now they're, like, all over mainstream radio. And it's just so weird. That's part of the reason why I have this one ranked in my top 10. Because I just think it's so impressive that a small indie band made it into, like, top 5 radio. Like, that's just sort of crazy to me. As good of a song as Broken is, there's so many other really good songs on that album. My favorite is Make You Feel Pretty, and Walk From Here and Stupid Mistakes are also so good. The record is complete with like interludes and everything too, so it's just like super cool how it's all put together. And it's their debut album, if I didn't mention that, which again, I mean, it's such a good album for a debut. Now, number 6 is probably pretty predictable because everybody knows I love this band. And also, if you didn't catch it in my honorable mentions, I put their one EP in it and not their other EP. So, I mean, that should have been a hint. But number 6 is If You're Reading This, I Love You by Milk. This is just a 4-song EP, and it's actually the only EP that made my top 10 list. The band has only been around for like a year and a bit, maybe closer to 2 years now, and they've been gaining such a quick fan base lately. Their followers on Twitter zoomed from like 6,000 to 8,000 in like 2 days, and that was insane. Their first EP, Sad Girls, which I put in my honorable mentions, that one came out in March, and it has 5 songs on it as opposed to this one. This one came out in like June, I want to say. I'm probably just butchering that because I can't remember right now, but I think it was like May or June. And honestly, the first EP just has like the first 5 songs they've ever released, and then this one just has like 4 new songs. And even just between those couple months difference, you can hear so much progression in the sound. So this summer I traveled like 6 hours into the States to see Milk live for the first time. And it was such a great experience. So they just have like such a big place in my heart. I really think when they release their debut album next year, it's gonna be like amazing. I really think they're gonna blow up soon. Number 5 is something I would never expect to put on my top 10 list. I've never been a huge fan of this band, and I've never really gotten the massive hype around them until recently. So number 5 is Youngblood by 5 Seconds of Summer. And before you all yell at me, I'm sorry, I've tried to get into them. I'm just not that much of a boy band girl. and I never really have been. But oh my god, when I heard this album for the first time, I just fell in love. Like, I was so blown away by it. Everything about this album is just really amazing and really well done. And from a lot of my friends who have been fans for years, I've heard that they've matured a lot, and that this album is sort of more like what they want to be doing versus what the general public wanted them to do in the past. So they're sort of taking control and doing their own thing, and I really respect that. Every song on this album is so good. Like, I can't choose a favorite, but off the top of my head, I really liked More and Babylon and Woke Up in Japan. Ghost of You is also really good and really sad. Moving into top 4 now with Entertainment by Waterhearts. As much as I love Double Dare, this is their best LP. How do I explain this? I love the band, and I love everything they've done. The way that I was saying things with Five Sauce, Austin has a way of doing that. He has a way of taking control and stopping making what everybody else wants and making what he wants and making what he's happy with. And I feel like this is a piece of that, because it has a little bit of everything in it. It has like super hard, heavy songs like Tantrum, and it has super lighthearted, fun songs like Peach. And it has like sad songs like Lucky People. And I just think like it has a little bit of everything. And that's why I love it so much, because it just really, it gives you a taste of everything that he wants to say, and he doesn't really care that it's like different or like not what the older albums are like. It's just, it's what it is, and even though every song is so different, they all fit together so well. And I've seen them so many times during this era, and just, they're growing so much. Their stage presence is getting bigger and better because of it. Their production is getting bigger and better. Their shows are like moving up venues, more top high quality level. They're blowing up, and I really think part of that is a result of the diversity of this album and how well written it is. Number 3, and you might actually remember when I interviewed this band way back in March. At that point, I didn't know much about them, I have to admit. I first discovered this band like late last year. Like November-ish, because I had a friend who was into them, so I checked them out, but they didn't really have much music out at that point. And then they were opening for Movements, so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I started listening to them a bit more. I really enjoyed this album. It was a good album. Like, I didn't listen to it super often, but I had it saved on my Spotify. It would come up on shuffle every once in a while. And then at the Movements show, I was trying to get an interview with just one of the opening bands. Like, I had my camera with me. I was with my cousin, who's, like, way more forceful about this kind of thing than me, because, like, I'm too, like, scared to, like, walk up to somebody. And he's, like, going up to all this band. He's like, hey, can she interview you? So I'm like, okay, thanks. Sky from Super Whatever, he's like, yeah, of course. Like, sure, we'd love to do this. So we took it outside. I winged all the questions, because, of course, I didn't have anything ready. But it was still a really fun interview. I really liked them. I really liked their set. So, like, I started listening to them a little more often after that. And, like, not too long ago, only a few months ago, they sort of, like, posted this thread. And Sky was, like, just talking about all the actual meanings behind what they do. And I just think it's really important. But the band actually, it's a suicide awareness and prevention project. Like, that's what Sky said. And this album, like, Never Nothing, it's the concept of, like, what's bothering you. It's never nothing. Like, it's always something. I really just love how they're subtly talking about this, because the topic of mental health is something that's, like, often glorified or not spoken about enough within the industry. And I really like the fact that some bands, well, a lot of bands actually, in this, like, modern age, are taking that stigma towards it and bringing it into the light and talking about it. I really think it's important when bands use their platforms to talk about something important like that, as opposed to just taking their platform and not really doing much with it. And that's what Super Whatever is doing, is they're talking about it. They're using their platform for good. that's why they have a platform. Like, that's why Sky did it, is for this project. And honestly, after reading that thread and reading everything that this album and this band is about, it just sort of gave like a whole new meaning to the album. Like, I already loved it, but listening to the lyrics after that, it's like, oh yeah, like, I totally get what this is about now. This band just, it's another one that holds a special place in my heart because they're really great people. I'm really happy for the success that they've been getting lately. And they definitely have the potential to make it super big in the scene, and especially with what they're talking about is just super admirable. And that's why this is ranked so high, and I'm really excited to see them again with Set It Off in March and just like hang out with them. They're just the best. I love them. Number 2 is Expectations by Hayley Kiyoko. Actually, last year, the first album on my list, it's Rainbow by Kesha, which is like a super strong female solo artist, and so I guess that's just a reoccurring theme. But Hayley is a mainstream LGBT artist, and she talks about that, and she like campaigns for change, and she talks about who she is. She talks about discrimination. She's not afraid of the media perceiving her differently just because she's not straight. And just, as I was saying with some of these other artists, I really think talking about these, like, modern day faced issues that, like, may not be faced by the majority, but they're faced every day in this world. And I just think it's important that there's artists out there who have a platform and are using it to talk about that. I love that she's not afraid to be who she is. I love that she openly talks about who she is, especially in the album. And it's also her debut full-length album, and I mean, I think it charted really well. So well written, and she has such a unique voice. And I just really thought this album was like one of the best pop albums that's been released in a long time. Like, not only for who she is, but the actual content of the album. It's, all the songs are catchy. There's like some 5-minute songs that are like actually 2 songs mashed into one. And it's hard to explain, but like, it's just really unique. Number 1, it's actually really ironic that this made it into my top spot this year. Because when I heard the first single from this album, well, the first few singles, I didn't think I was gonna like it that much. I didn't think it was gonna be for me. Like, I think I just had higher hopes with how long they'd been on hiatus for it, and I was just sort of expecting like something different from what it was. Not something bigger, just something different. I wasn't expecting that. And they still aren't my favorite tracks on the album, but back when it first came out, I did like this whole huge track-by-track review of it, because I was just really blown away by it, and I wanted to write how I was feeling about each song, and sort of how they all connected through my first listen. Because I can go back and read that review, and I can go, that is like so wrong, that's not what they were saying. But at that first listen time, that was how I perceived it in my mind. So my number 1 spot this year goes to 21 Pilots for Trench. When I listened to the full album in order for the first time, I realized that everything connects, and there's so many hidden meanings in every single song. Like, every lyric is so important, or else you'll miss the entire meaning of the song if you miss one single tiny lyric. It all connects in a way that makes sense from like the beginning to the end. Each song in order, it makes sense in that order. It tells a story. I ended up liking this album better than 2015's Blurry Face, which, I mean, that was their last release, so I'm sort of just comparing it against that one. I was just really amazed and wowed the first time I listened to it all in order. And like, I misjudged it just by the first few singles. Like, all the non-singles are honestly a lot better than the singles. It's my top album because of how much it wowed me and how much my opinion on it was changed from the time the first single came out versus listening to the whole album for the first time. and it's also my top album just because of the writing and because of just the way it is. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It all fits so well. It belongs together the way that it is, and I can't picture it any other way than it is. That's my top 10 this year, and I'd love to hear what yours is, so comment that below. I'm also doing a giveaway on my Twitter right now for 5 free prints, so if you want to enter that, my Twitter is just my name, Meg Clemenson. You can find the spelling down below because that's my new channel name. I rebranded. I'm not Meg's Music Talk anymore. I'm doing a lot more than just my blog now, and I just sort of feel like it doesn't fit anymore. I hope you all liked my list. I'm sorry that it's a little bit late this year because I had a day planned out. I'm like, I'm filming it this day. I don't have any other time. Today's the day it's happening. And then I was sick and had no voice. So now it's being recorded on the same day I released my video last year. So I don't think you guys are going to be seeing this until the new year, but maybe I'll be surprised. Maybe I'll get this edited soon enough. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me and everything. Subscribe, comment, like, all that fun stuff. You know the drill. I don't really have to say this. Have a good day.